Hey, Aslak, how are you doing, my friend?
Well, good morning, Stoy. I'm doing really well, thanks. And you?
I'm good, man. I was just explaining to you that I just got my coffee, specialty coffee with a little bit of cocoa, and I got a teaspoon of honey to it to make it a little more special because I was having, I'm having this special guest coming to the podcast, so I need to make my day fully special. So thanks for being here, man. I'm very excited to have you on, knowing your experience, somebody who's been immersing yourself in the world of martial arts and with that the Eastern philosophy, then being very successful with your business endeavors, being a CEO of Nordic Business Forum, arguably one of the best, if not the best events, premier events, business events in Europe, and from there being a CEO. Having so much experience in the startup world as well, and now about to launch a new book, and me being privileged to be one of the readers who had the chance to read the book before it's out. I'm extremely excited to be here, man. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Stoy. And but yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I love your work as well. So kind of like I think there's a mutual benefit to have a discussion here live and then learn from each other as well at the same time.
Give us the brief picture of the story. So I gave the kind of the highlights from your career, but I would like to learn more about how did that happen. How did that career journey evolve?
Yeah, I started training martial arts when I was 12. I'm half Sri Lankan, half Finnish, so that's one of the reasons I got into fights when I was younger. But I also kind of loved the excitement, so it was like sports to me to play sports. So I was 12 when I joined martial arts. I was 18 when I got my black belt, and then I have about 100 full contact fights in different competition, also kind of like mixed martial arts competitions where you fight other styles. In the year 2000, I won world championships in Detroit, Michigan, with kind of another sports that was very similar, but we entered their competitions. Then I went on to teach and coach. I've been coaching in Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and national teams as well. Um, then I was 27 when I got injured in a way that the doctor said that I have to stop fighting, that I otherwise I will not be able to write with my right hand anymore. I broke it twice. Then I had my knee operated before. So then I just had studied in Sweden with my master's degree in international management. So I started fresh start, entry level positions from telecenters to telesales and then advanced in my career. So that time I realized that, okay, that since I didn't have, my CV was almost blank, so no work experience. So when I had to start with the entry level positions and sales, telesales is hard. I was never really good at it, but then I applied the same principles that I learned from martial arts. Anything from, like, I always joke that you're used to taking a punch in your face and it feels the same almost when a customer is not happy with your call, or sometimes you get no so many times that you just have to pick yourself up. So I started applying those same principles. Then when I advanced actually about 18 months in my career, so I was already a country manager leading 20 plus people. So then I started seeing also the same kind of mistakes that you do in martial arts sometimes, that you just are maybe too cocky, you have too much self-confidence and you don't pay attention what's happening around. And then I saw what that did to people, and then I just started kind of building the career with the same principles that I've been taught in martial arts. And then I don't know, 15 years later, been two times multinational company CEO. Now the last one, Selfish Store. So the company was sold. We were present in 25 countries in Europe. And I've been leading teams with more than 30 different nationalities, and in different continents and so on. So kind of like here I am. So when I had that small break now, so then I wrote a book about what the kind of the lessons learned, 20 lessons learned from the martial arts to leadership, which I have tested in both sides. So I've tried to kind of build the kind of the bridge between of why this is different, and kind of my ambition was to find out and show that when you read leadership books or you attend conferences and others, so there sometimes miss some nuances that you can really understand if you understand martial arts, that might be an eye opener for some, and sometimes some people might feel that, well, this is not for me, but at least it's a different angle to that. So I wanted to kind of bring fresh perspective for people to understand, and here we are, right?
the first steps in the business world, I'm just curious, did you feel like people in business were, in a way, lacking discipline and lacking mastery? Because I can imagine you've gone to this level and you've been surrounded by some incredible people in martial arts, and now all of a sudden you join the business world. I wonder if you had some kind of those revelations. Like I started in the business school. It's not martial arts, but business school. I had a lot of competitive, very structured individuals like my classmate, as my classmates, and then I left the business school, and I joined the creative industry of artists. And for me, it was like, oh my god, everybody's so messy. I'm gonna thrive here because the bar is so low. Um, and there's professionals that are doing really good, but specifically in structure and discipline, creative people, to me, it was like 10 levels lower than what I was a part of. So I'm wondering, did you have some sort of similar revelation?
Well, I'm not sure if exactly the same. So what I noticed was that for me, actually, it was pretty hard to follow the orders and opinions. So I was used to be the black belt. So I was used to kind of know what to do. And of course, I'm very used to taking feedback all the time. Your master is very picky on every mistake you make, and you get constant feedback constantly. But then when I started working, so I think I lacked the understanding of business. So I lacked the I was first in a tele center taking customer calls where they had to I mean they had forgotten their password, and I had to reset that. And then when I was a few months with that position and went for telesales, so I was calling customers and saying and selling print advertisements, so kind of like that, would you buy ad here? um, so to me, the discipline came from understanding that, okay, that the more you do that with high quality, so the better the results are. And then my question was, okay, what is high quality? Please teach me that. And then so I started learning from others, and I actually felt that I was literally a white belt, so that the others were more advanced. They had some understanding of it, and they had some passion about it. So I just tried to learn from them. Then I realized that when I was able to do what they were doing and maybe getting the quality up, so I started to succeed quite well. And there, then I saw the difference that, okay, maybe my ambition level is very high compared to many others. I'm not saying that others don't have ambition, but maybe it's higher than many. And a normal standard. And that's how then I started to advance in my career. So I didn't settle for a position. So I was always like thinking that, is this the one that I want to stay in, or shall I push forward and apply for a new job? So within the kind of the first maybe 10 years, I worked in 10 different companies, and not always, it was not even my decision to change the company, because sometimes I just didn't fit the culture they had, or I didn't even understand. I worked for a while in kind of strategy development, and I was almost Googling the word strategy every day, that what does that mean? And so I wasn't very good at that job, but I started to understand that I'm really I can read people. I was used to in fighting them. I was used to coaching them. So I was able to read the emotions, the feelings, and maybe master the feeling and make control the feeling for others as well. That if I wanted to give them a positive feeling, so I could do that. So then to me, that was sales and leading people. Then it became customer experience and marketing as well. So to understand like how to help people to understand and read the emotions and make them feel better. And that's then kind of my sweet spot in the end, where I then started to building success. But it didn't start from the scratch. I was really bad in the beginning, and just trying to learn from everybody around me.
Super interesting in the book. By the way, for those of you who are listening, you should get a copy of the book that's coming out August 18th, is it? I don't know when you
August
guys are going to
19th,
be
yes.
listening to the
Yeah.
podcast. August 19, 2025. The book is coming out, The Black Belt in Leadership. Um, I will be referring to the book because I have a lot of notes, and I want you to elaborate on some of those things. And for those of you listening live, feel free to post your questions. Let us know in the comments where you're watching us from. Post your questions. I'll take a few more questions, and then we'll do a Q&A with the audience. So feel free to post your questions there. But one of the things that stuck with me from the beginning was, you say in martial arts, earning a black belt is not the end. of mastery. It's merely the beginning.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, from outside, and when you start training, so often the ambition is to get a black belt, and everybody kind of understands that then you master the things. But it is more the reason for the black belt. So depending on the martial art, then you might have grades of black belt from 1 to 10, and 10 is like the super master who knows everything. But it basically means that you've kind of gone through all the angles of what is going to be all the basic techniques. So you have punches, kicks, and all this. You might have hundreds of different techniques. You might have we had condition tests that you need to do 150 push-ups and 3,000 squats and run 10 kilometers under 50 minutes and all these and many other things during the same day, so that you kind of have the condition to perform to the level that it should be. But then basically you understand that now you've been taught these basics, and then you are an individual, and then you need to start applying those things. So basically it starts over. Part of it is doing the humbleness, that you understand that every day you can learn something from anybody, and part of it's the humbleness of like continue to train with the best efforts you know. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I got from there is that when even the book I start with, that what was my first lesson was that do things right. There was a moment where we were training for this kind of horse stance test, which sounds really probably ridiculous, that we were sitting without a chair for 4 hours. And so you have your knees bent 90 degrees angle. And when we started to train that, I could manage to do maybe 2 minutes or even less than that. And you had the test in half a year that you have to do it for 4 hours. And then you start to train and kind of mindset training, that can you really do. So you need to kind of get rid of your doubts that no, it's not doable. And plus physically you train. And so we managed to do that. And immediately after the training, so we were training this kind of Tai Chi style, which is then really controlled movement. So first you have really exhausted your muscles, and then you are trying to step on a very controlled way with no sounds. And one of us who passed the test, so make this kind of the heel touch the floor, and there was a kind of a gong sound. And the master came and said that who made that sound, that if you cannot concentrate on your step today, you will have that same flaw or mistake in your body for the next 10 years. So meaning that regardless of what you already done, you need to focus on doing things right now. And if you apply that to leadership, so to me, I've noticed that many times when you talk to people, so get a feeling that it didn't go right. And then you need to go back and say that, hey, I had this feeling that we talked, but I don't feel that it went right. And I feel that you are upset, or you are feeling down or something. And then you need to correct that immediately. So then you can actually do the same, that unless if you leave it there, so the person might feel bad for the next 10 years. We have plenty of these examples, I'm sure you and I, but others, that when somebody mistreated the person, they still have that grudge or the bad feeling when they see that person. And that's why you need to fix that immediately. So do the things right means that do the best possible version of you constantly. And if you do a mistake, somebody gives you feedback, correct it immediately. And that will have an impact for the next 10 years. And so to me, that's then the martial arts strategy from the start. And that's what we were referring when you were kind of studying, like, okay, here, what's the kind of the principle there?
I love that you talk about how you earn your black belt every day. And it's such a powerful reminder for leaders out there in the business world as well. If you've been promoted to a position, it doesn't mean you should stop growing. It doesn't mean that you earned it and you deserve to be there. You can kind of chill and start doing things with less of discipline, with less of values and so on. Like you earn your black belt every day. This is such a powerful reminder, man.
Well, yeah, thanks. But that's true. And then again, the level that you have, of course, like all the accomplishments, nobody's going to take your black belt away if you are in a company and you're the CEO. So it's not going to happen in a day like, hey, today you were not up to the level, so we're taking it away. But if you have the mindset of thinking that, hey, I need to earn it, I need to showcase, I need to be to the level, so focus on being the black belt again. So it makes a huge difference for the team. And this is probably a bit on the kind of self-control or even emotional intelligence, in a way that, again, you do everything you do with the highest standard you can do. So you're not settling, you're not allowing yourself to be somebody else than you are at your best. And that's not always easy. I mean, like, I get into fights with my family, and then I regret it and go back, or I might have emotions similarly. But then if I look at it, so was this the version of me that I wanted to be? Often it's not. So then you just kind of let go of it and then go back and apologize, or and that means then that you earn your black belt every day, that you live to the standards that you have set for yourself. And then when you become better, you again need to be better. But at the same time, I would say that kind of regrets from past are also let go, because you were not black belt at that time. So you understand that you evolve, you develop every day. So kind of like, you can always go back and apologize, but you cannot change what you did. But what you can do is be today the black belt you are, and live to the highest standards that you can be.
At some point in your career, you got promoted as the CEO of Nordic Business Forum, and I'm very excited speaking about it because, as both of us are professional speakers, this is kind of the ultimate event in Europe. Those of you who don't know what is Nordic Business Forum, these guys create these incredible experiences with speakers like President Obama, Brené Brown, Simon Sinek, George Clooney, top of the top, and they design the exclusivity of the event. It's a different kind of level, and I wonder if you can give us a bit of a inside look at that. How big was your team at the time? Were you afraid when you, not afraid, but like, were you doubting yourself when you got promoted as a CEO and all these expectations fall on you? Just give us a bit of an overview of your time as a CEO, and how did you apply these principles of martial arts within your day-to-day leadership?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course, full credit for the co-founders, Hape and Yuri, who have Hans-Peter Siefen and Yuri Linden, who founded the company, I think, yeah, 15 years ago soon. So they had very ambitious goals. They set forth kind of 10-year target in 2011 to be the biggest and most influential business conference in the world, and aiming for the high quality. So anything, so it comes from a small town of Finland called Jyväskylä, where, yeah, and they chose to speak English for the matter that if they want to be international, so they need to have the language in English, and kind of putting it there. I used to be a customer myself. I remember actually the first experience that I had was listening to Jim Collins on stage. And then when I walked in, everything felt perfect, and the content and everything. I was like, where in the world can I actually get so close to Jim Collins and even be able to ask questions from him directly there? So people were asking him, his stylist, that he will take the audience there. So that's the level of quality. And when I got to be the CEO, so I was like, I remember the first day I was wearing a suit going in, and like thinking that it's the same as the event, and everybody else was really laid back in t-shirts, and they were kind of smiling that this is not how we work here. It's like a group of people who want to make high quality events, but we are not. We are individuals. We are humble people to kind of make it happen. So to me, there was a huge contrast in thinking that, okay, you listen to the best speakers and you see everybody suit up and everything perfect, but people were really humble and honest and driving. They had really strong passion to make it better. So I think I didn't understand in the beginning that they were very kind of looking forward for when I was the first CEO, kind of outside of the founders. So they, whatever I said, so they took it really kind of literally. That if I said that maybe, well, I might have said that maybe we should change something, and then they were, okay, we changed something. So I didn't understand that they thought that it was a decision. And so that there was a bit of a culture shock in the beginning, but then we kind of got fine-tuned. So I was really happy to have a t-shirt on and get really laid back and get the drive from the team, which is then my style in a way, is to kind of find the angles that nobody else sees. They were really professional in some parts, and then I could maybe pitch in something extra and try to be more maybe visible on social media or something, and then we got really well going on. I think it's a good setup because the team also always watches the speeches after the event. So there's kind of a mini NBA and like an NBF, Nordic Business Forum there, and we really studied the learnings of the speakers, and we might have guest speakers in our events that were the same caliber. So they really want high quality leadership because they know what that is. So I think that was a perfect setup for me as well to kind of like, well, since I've been a customer, I was really passionate about being a good leader. So that was like really the standard of being a leader in that company was really high. And so I really loved that. But I have to say, like I started in the beginning, that there was a kind of a misunderstanding or missed feeling from so what a leader for them should be. And then I think it was really good that like dress down, be a human, and let's work together with ambitious goals. And that's how you got the best results. It was nothing like that look like a leader, um, give us orders or something. So it's very empowered organization where everybody's really professional, wants to do the best, and they like to make decisions as well themselves because they know that they're the experts of their field. Yeah.
Who are some of the speakers that you booked during the time that you were CEO? Do you remember some kind of story? Did you actually join any of these kind of calls, negotiating to get them on board? Give us some of those kind of behind the scenes examples.
Yeah, well, there is a head of speakers who's really expert in looking at the speakers, of course, as a CEO, and then with the board of directors, we were the ones kind of like making the final decisions who should we book. And then there are, of course, different angles of that. So you need some big names so that people feel that when you are in a room with President Obama, Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Clooney, so you kind of, as a customer, get a feeling that I was there where the big names were. And then you try to find the speakers that are surprisingly good, but nobody knows about. And so kind of like we even had this kind of speaker contest where we were scouting for speakers, and then the prize was as far as I remember, 30,000 euros for the speaker if they won the contest. So they got paid 30,000 euros to be on stage. So which kind of is really a reasonable price for a speaker to get one speech on stage and get that money. So kind of trying to find those speakers as well who will have surprisingly good content and are good on stage. So then we would attend different events as well to kind of scout them and see. But the process is quite long. So there are some speakers who have been trying to be approached maybe 10 years, but they've never said yes. So it's not like that you kind of come up with one day and decide that now we get that speaker. So the scouting might be very, very long. And so many of the speakers that we had, so they were scouted way before. And of course, customers gave feedback, different event organizers gave feedback, but we would always try to get a feeling of like, okay, that how the speaker is on stage, really talk about the content that our customers were looking for so that it really matches also the theme. So the difference between Nordic Business Forum and many other events is that the themes are built in a way that it's a structure and a storyline so that if you have, you will have, like, let's say you said Simon Sinek, and he's now coming to the next event as well. But then there'll be because his content is super strong for leaders, but then you need maybe a business leader who has done it as well, so that you can kind of combine with that. And then you might have somebody else talking about, if Simon Sinek is talking about, as an example, like start with why, how you talk about the vision. So then you might need somebody who's talking about how to make actionable um, content for that, or be a communicator who makes action happen, and then you have another speaker for that. So maybe a bit dull. So no, I was not in kind of really into those moments where you can kind of pick and choose. But then when we had maybe the list of 20, 25 speakers, so then I was able to sometimes join a call with the speakers and talk about the content and what we're expecting. And of course, my background was good because I was a customer who was paying ticket money from his own pocket. So then I could say, and I was a business leader, so that, hey, I think this resonates me or this doesn't resonate with me. So I could actually look it with the customer's eyes a bit and see. But we worked also with customers. So we had this kind of customer focus group who would then sometimes get to see that these are the speakers we are thinking of. What do you think? Do you know them? And of course, like top seller books and all these were important kind of sources to find who are the best. I know, for instance, there are many speakers who still approach me and ask how would I get to be a speaker at the Nordic Business Forum. So my advice is that be the best in the world in your subject field, and when the subject field is then needed for that, so you'll be noticed. So it's not about pitching yourself, it's more like doing the work to get to the level that you are noticed, and then when that happens, so you are there. So very seldom in Nordic Business Forum there is a speaker who nobody has ever heard on stage. But of course, maybe not in the Nordic countries, that might be the case. But even if it's in the Nordic countries, the content might be very specific for the event theme. And again, it gives a lot of new angles for it. And it's more of a combination of the whole event than one single speaker in the end.
We have a question from Eva who's asking, she's saying, Rick Rubin speaking in the forum this year, what does it take to build an event where speakers and visitors feel aligned?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So yeah, so one of the kind of the core focuses of Nordic Business Forum is the customer experience, and they have a team. So they have a chief customer experience officer, which is Sala Seppa, a really great person there. She's living the kind of the super positive feeling when people meet her. So everybody's just smiling, regardless of if you're a speaker or you are a guest at the event, or yeah. And she runs then the kind of the overall customer team there, so which is about 200 300 students also from who are studying to be and their business BBA level students. So they will join the event, some of them kind of for a couple of days, and some are trained to be team leaders. And then the whole production is then about 1,000 people, including all the security guards and catering people and all that. But all of them have the kind of the same mindset. They are taught with the customer experience that what do we want to achieve. And there's kind of these kind of slogans that excellence means that you are surpassing ordinary standards, and then talking about examples how it's done. And then everybody, there are people taking care of the speakers the same way. So if they have a kind of there have been a speaker who said that, "Hey, show me Helsinki," and then you just drive them to see something specific of Helsinki. And if they have any questions, so you write a personal note to them that in the morning that I'm your host today, and kind of building it from everything for the speakers. You are picking up them from the airport with a note saying thank you for coming. You might have figured out their favorite drink that's ready when they come, and so on. So all these small details go for the speakers and for the customers as well, or the guests. And with this, then when you get back, so then the speakers as well might be that, hey, I was super happy. A good example was Sarah Blakely. She was the founder of Spanx. And then she a multi-billionaire, and she was in Helsinki, so she stayed longer in Helsinki just to be there to see that. And even because she got such a great feeling of the people, so she just delayed her travel and stayed in Helsinki just for a couple of days. And then even the host can join if she wants, say that, hey, I can be there for you. And then you can imagine that when she gets back and says that I was in an event in Finland and this was how I was treated. So again, the kind of the good reputation goes on. In the beginning, as far as I've heard, so it was actually difficult to get these speakers to come to Finland. So like, why would you come to the remote location, and there's nothing in between. So it was harder to get, but now with the good reputation, so it helps to attract the best speakers that nobody else could actually get to Finland or Sweden or Norway, even in the same kind of group. So in the end, it helps a lot to take care of it with the same mindset. The same goes with customers. I mean, the best years, the event has now, I think, 7,500 tickets. The best year, it was sold out in 6 days after the launch. So existing customers immediately buy. They buy for their friends when they like it. And the recommendation rates are 99% plus. In some years, it's like 99.9% of the customers recommend the event. And when you launch the event, so they buy tickets for the next. And I think it's kind of a spiral that if you do everything really well, you are very ambitious, you treat your customers, your speakers really well, you really put into that, so that kind of spiral gets bigger and bigger, and it's going better and better all the time. So existing customers come back, they buy immediately a ticket a year before when they hear at the event about the next event, so they can buy tickets. So I think this last year 24 there was like about 5,000 tickets sold in that 4 hours time period. And then you have already, you know, that more than 5,000 customers are coming, then you have the full year to sell the next, the remaining 2,500 tickets, and so on. So this is how it works then when it's done really, really well.
That is impressive, man. But this is such a good reminder as well on you provide a great service, you provide an incredible product, you do more than expected from you. You wow your customers, and and this is the effect that's been created over the years. Like when you constantly trying to be better, you constantly try to give a little more, to make it a little better, to take care of your people. People start recommending, and you get into this effect. And event managers out there, they know the hardest thing is to sell the tickets and the sponsorship packages. Of course, the experience design, the content, this is really important. And I'm not saying it's not hard to do as well, but once you have those things in place 5 days after you start selling the tickets, then you have the whole year to really focus on all the small details. And looking at the event like Nordic Business Forum, which is very ambitious, and I know there's many overachievers listening to this podcast. I I feel like sometimes we feel we need to be super tense. If you want to achieve a lot, you have to be tense, you have to be intense, you have to be competitive and just push, push, push. And so you get things done and you achieve results. And I do think there are some certain moments that you have to be like that. But I like how you share in the book again principles from martial arts. Here's a line from the book: a relaxed punch hits harder than a stiff one. Softness is not a weakness. And you talk about gentle power. Tell us why we should be a little bit more conscious, especially when we have the tendency to be intense and stiff.
Yeah. That's a really good question. And so kind of like where it comes is that we actually, in my opinion, we don't perform at our best when we stress. I think all of us kind of can agree to that. And when we push it in martial arts, you kind of call it a bit like unnatural movement. So I don't know if you watched Usain Bolt run the world record. So it looked easy and relaxed. And when he was trying to win a push, so then actually he lost some speed there. So when we get to that level that we want really to the 100%, it's not about like the closer we get, so often we more tense we get. So if you relax your mind and kind of don't think that that's the maximum. So when we start thinking of maximum effort, so we get this stiffness and the extra push we do is forced and then it doesn't work. I mean, it's the um, same as which you talk with people. So if you're relaxed and you're yourself, so you are more nice and people might like you. And then sometimes you have this high, really stressful situation that I need to make a good impression. And that actually often results in you not doing the best work you do. You are on a keynote stage. I remember I was speaking in Salt Lake City in a competition. So that was the first time I talked about with that speech, and I was competing with Americans. There was a price tag. So even if I was really well prepared, so I could see that I was pushing it too much. I was lucky enough to speak in the same event the next day, and then people said that now you're so relaxed, though, so you were now a better speaker. Even if I felt that I wasn't as prepared for the next speech as the first one, it was a better performance. So we tend to have this that when we force and we push, that we are not, we kind of get the narrow vision, we are narrow minded, we miss the opportunities, and we like lose ourselves as human beings a bit on that, and that's visible, and that causes some bad results sometimes. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have the discipline to do the work. That's different. So here it's kind of what I talk a lot about discipline is that when people talk about training, for instance, that I don't have a motivation. So then I say that motivation is not the key. Discipline is the key. Because if you set it up, all of us will have bad days and good days, bad trainings, good trainings, bad customer calls, good customer calls, bad keynotes, good keynotes. So why not do the bad ones if we feel it's a bad one? Why not do it anyway so that we have done it so that next time we'll be better? And often the improvement actually happens when we are feeling bad about what we did and maybe with the outcome. So then we want to improve rather than have that kind of a competitiveness in our mind that I want to win, I want to be really good at it. That then causes the stiffness and often we don't win. In high level sports, in single moment, that might still be needed sometimes, but often it's not resulting a victory. An example that martial artists will know, or if you watch boxing fights, so it sometimes look when the opponent gets angry that now you have the power and be careful. But as a fighter, if you're really prepared, that's like the best situation because you know that they are not absorbing what's happening. So you are used to the situation. You take a couple of punches and you see the opening. So often in those fights, when you see the opponent getting angry, so they're starting to lose. And that's their kind of they are afraid of losing, so they will try to do something else and they lose the training, they lose their focus, and that's what happens then. So a fight is never won with anger or kind of that extra push there. It might look like it's from outside that now you should be more afraid. Same goes with leadership, same goes with customer experience and everything. So I believe that when you lose your control, then you start losing the situation as well. Do you agree? Is this understandable?
I, I just wanna go one step further and deeper, because I do believe there's moments that you have to push. And I don't want the audience to think that you should always be relaxed, and because I mean that's what I want you to talk about a little bit. It's like, how do we find the right moments? Like when you learn to drive a car, initially the first lessons or even the first month, you know, like you follow strictly, you're very disciplined, you might be a little tense, but you have to learn, right? And there is a moment in which you start driving your car, you know, maybe a few months, a year. You don't have to think. You can. It's the sense of mastery. I can imagine it's the same in martial arts. Like you initially, you have to repeat the same move thousands of times, but then there is a moment in which this stiffness turns into relaxed mastery kind of state. So,
Mm.
so I just want to, if you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
elaborate a little bit, and how do you find, you know, as a leader, how do you find the moments that you have to be more strict and tough and intense, and as opposed
Mm.
to the moments that you can be more masterful and with the flow and a little bit more relaxed?
Yeah. Yeah, before I can go to that, so probably there's a good to understand like what I mean as well. So like let's say that we train for to do 100 push-ups and we have certain time. So if we always push exactly to the limit, so we kind of get stiffness in our body and we feel the pain. So after that first round, it's impossible to do the second round of training. So if we want to do 100 push-ups and our maximum is 50, so if we do today 5 times 40, we will get better results than doing 50 and 20 and 10. So again, it kind of comes to that you can calibrate to the kind of the maximum limit where you can keep it up, right? So kind of like don't push yourself to over the limit is then when you kind of start saying that, okay, that becomes stiffness. So you try to go as close to the limit without losing the control. So that's what I'm meaning. So maybe if you do 45 push-ups instead of 50, so then you can do that, and 46, 47, and someday you can go past the 50. But if you really push once to just get to the 50 and then you're very stiff after that and you feel a lot of pain, so the development is actually not as good as if you do it 4 times in a row. So that's the part. So the mastery then comes by repeating these exercises long enough, years after year, and suddenly the 50 is nothing for you, and you kind of pass that. So in martial arts you talk about do, so which is kind of the life path, or that's how our masters were saying that the 4 hours force stance or doing 100 push-ups or something. So in the beginning they are impossible, but once you do that, it's not ending there. So there's no bigger surprise if you do that. So then next year they said, well, do 150 push-ups. We'll stay longer in the horse stance. Or do first year we did 1,000 squats, so next year's 1,500 squats. So it's like pushing that you can still be better than you were today. And that then becomes the mastery that if you repeat that year after year. So when I got my black belt when I was 18 years old, so I did all the condition tests every year for 10 years after that, but with higher kind of demands. And that's then how you kind of become better every year. It's not that when I got the black belt, training stops. No, everything just continues with even harder intensity. But the first step is to kind of get to the level, then keep it up and then develop, because sometimes you get injuries like I had. So then you had to kind of start over, but then you know how to build yourself back up quicker. So the same with leadership. I believe that if you're, again, try to be a best version of you today, sometimes you make a mistake. I've done plenty of those mistakes, and I also open up them in the book as well. So where I haven't succeeded in the leadership role that I see now, so I can fix that not for the moment that it was done, but for the future. And then I know that, okay, that mistake was done there, as an example, treating a person badly or giving very direct one-on-one feedback, which was not literally about the work. It was more about the personality, as an example. And when you do that, so you understand, hey, that was wrong, that was off. Next time, don't do that. And then you are already better as a leader because you did the mistake. But it's not pushing yourself to be perfect all the time. There's no perfection, but it's more of like being conscious that whatever you do today, you can do better tomorrow.
I love that you also mentioned when we are leading people, because there's the self leadership. How do we lead ourselves? But then also in the context of a business, it's about managing others. And there are situations that you need to be strict and disciplined, and you gotta be very direct with people. There's other situations that that's simply not gonna work, and you might have to guide and support them and be softer, which is not weaker, but in this situation, it might be the best thing to do. I used to think that there's one style of leadership, and once you learn it, then you're a great leader. when I was like, in high school, in university, you get excited about these kind of topics, and I was like, wow, this Steve Jobs guy, and he's winning, and maybe you should be like Steve Jobs. But and there's certain traits Steve Jobs has been extremely good at. I spoke to some people that were his directly reporting to him. We had one of them on the podcast as well, and he was admiring Steve Jobs, for example. But then at the same time, he would see that there are certain traits that he would say, well, that's probably not the. But then again, he achieved incredible things with his leadership. But there's no one size fits all leadership. There's so many different approaches depending on the situations, and I feel like just like martial arts, you get to learn how to be a better leader by just being out there in the field. It's very difficult, and your book is great, and I think everybody should get a copy of the book, but it's very difficult to learn leadership simply by theory. It's not math, right? It's so much bigger, and you learn by experience, and you build this intuition, this mastery, and you're never 100% right. That's the other thing. I mean, we get to talk to, because of our work as speakers, as podcasters, we get to work and meet some of the most successful leaders on the planet, literally, and you get to talk to them, and you understand they make a lot of mistakes. They don't know what to do in certain situations. I had the vice president of Microsoft join me on the podcast once, and he said he cannot recall how many times he would talk to Bill Gates when Bill Gates didn't have an idea what to do and is confused and completely or make a big mistake. Like, everybody makes mistakes, but we tend to glorify some of these successful faces so much and follow them blindly, and it's not like that. So if you can maybe elaborate on that, like if there's people out there maybe about to become leaders now for the first time, or they've been there for a couple of years, but they're still trying to find themselves as leaders, what would be your advice to them?
A really good comment. I love that, and especially that the kind of the leadership is always situational, because it's about people and the situation you are in as a business and with your team. And again, like you said, there's no perfect, but the way I see and try to like is that the more you perspectives you have, the better you understand like why of different success stories, maybe different failures. So you have at least tools, you have understandings. And here the kind of the martial art metaphors comes that if you know how different ways of punching and kicking and on the ground and others, so you have broader perspective, and then in the situation you have different tools to understand. It can be that from the start you're really great in reading the team, or you might be really bad. But anyway, the situation then requires some changes, and then you can learn from that. So when somebody, if they want to start to be a leader, so of course first is that kind of like, do you want to lead people, and kind of like understand that the leader is not, sometimes it's the one who's like really pushing and say that this is what we do, but overall it's more about that, do you like working with people, and like to take also their problems to you to help them to fix them so that they can be better versions of themselves. And that's maybe more kind of helping them rather than and leading them in a way that you don't tell them what to do, but you're helping them to become better versions of themselves so that they can succeed, so that they will trust you, that you are helping them to be better. Sometimes success is that we get off easier. So, I mean, it can be like a good example is that if you are leading a sales team, so it can be that you listen to the sales calls and then say that, hey, this is the pitch we start with, and that helps everybody. Just say this pitch, and that's the start from the telesales call, and that's helping everybody. Then you don't need to come up with anything. It sometimes is helping them to understand that, hey, now it's 9 o'clock, we do 10 calls, and then you have your break. It's kind of guiding them through the process so that they don't need to think, and they like telesales is hard job, so you often have these doubts that should I call now, and then your mind starts working that maybe they don't want to answer now. I remember in my first telesales job where there was a name, and I thought that that name will not buy from me. There is no ground. So that time you need the leader to say that, hey, it's just a name, it's just a number, you just call, say this pitch, and you walk forward. And that's then leadership from that side, so that you help the person to succeed. In a grand scale, maybe Steve Jobs, I've never met him, I've talked with people who have worked with him as well, but like in a grand scheme, the change that he was doing, so probably he was really good at that with the team and the situation where that was, so that he could really change the world with his leadership, with his kind of way of working. It was not perfect for everyone, for sure. And again, there were a lot of comments about like his style, but then it's hard to comment from an outsider if you were not in the team. And again, it depends on your maybe your ambition and motivation, where you want to work and what you want to achieve. I can honestly say that if you look at my martial arts training, so I didn't enjoy the training constantly. No way. It was super hard going to the competitions, getting punched. Even in training, somebody knocks you down and you have to get up and do it again. And your master's saying that, come on, don't give up. Um, we had this training where he was putting us to run 400 meters and saying that put everything. And he would look at it that if you were not pushing everything, so he would say, you run again. And sometimes we ran 15, 20 times that, because he was saying that, no, you didn't try your hardest. And you are like there, that like cursing and saying that now I will quit this. But that was his job, to kind of fight our inner doubts, inner kind of that we can learn to push ourselves harder and not to try to cheat. And still we try to cheat, right? So that's the human mind. When we are not 400 meters runners who can push constantly. We are trying to cheat that, okay, when he sees our back, so we may take a couple of steps easier. And then when we come there, we try to show our face that we are pushing everything. And then he was saying, no, you back there, you didn't push hard. So we changed the tactics. And that's good to understand that situation is there. And sometimes the leader needs to push for those moments. But of course, there needs to be some certain consent that I want to be part of this. And that's then the harder part, even for me, when I lead the teams, is that, okay, as a martial artist, you understand that you're going into a fight or something. So it's easy to understand that the master knows the best. But in a leadership situation in a team, so that might not be the same. Somebody's there just to get money. And that's totally fine. I mean, I had a guest in my podcast, the Black Belt in Leadership, Stefan Gogol, who used to be a professional cyclist with competing against Lance Armstrong and Jan Ulrich, the best ones in the like couple of decades ago. And he realized that in business, often 80% is enough, but in high level sports, it's not. You need to get to 99 and 100%. But in business, good enough is good enough. So don't apply the same tools exactly what you learn from there. And that was a hard lesson for me as well. That not everybody's super ambitious to succeed today. They don't have goals to advance in their career. They just want to get paid. They might have other life that they enjoy, which is totally fine and great. You just need to understand and then adjust your leadership style to these people.
Let's see how you're going to elaborate on the next one, having in mind what you just said. And I'm gonna give another quote from the book. One of the greatest lessons martial arts teaches is that impatience will get you knocked out. And there is another phrase that I took, which really resonated with me. Strategy is patience in action.
Yeah. So what I mean there is that uh, in a perfect world, and if you're really prepared, so you see whatever is around you. So an example in a fight, so that you have a mat and there's something on the mat, and kind of like you start again narrowing, getting the tunnel vision that this is what gonna do. So you miss those like the obstacles that you have, or something that's not in a perfect condition, and you start thinking that I need to do this instead of like what's happening in the fight. And when you get more impatient and you want more results, so this is what you get. So kind of you start losing your sight, you start losing the opportunities that were there. Sometimes they're really easy to see that the opponent, for instance, was not paying attention at all, but you missed it because you got too excited. I want to do this or that. So those kind of come. The same comes to the strategy. Of course, you need to have a plan. It's good to have a plan, but of course it can change. But you need to have certain plan that what you can do and what you cannot do. So kind of strategy is more of like setting that this is what we can do. It has also the part of that, okay, we chose not to do this. But then it's about the right timing, the right actions for the situation. And again, if you start pushing it too much yourself, so then you start trying to control it, and then the real world might have a different plan. If it's a market situation, so I mean, an example that you have a perfect marketing strategy, and you start like, let's use Nordic Business Forum in a way as an example. So when COVID-19 hit, so 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 you had a plan. We had, I think, record sales, more than 6,500 tickets sold, and just a couple of going through. We had an event coming in Sweden and in Norway. Everything is going really well. So then COVID hit, and then events are canceled. So in that moment when you don't know what's going to happen, so if you really only stick to the plan, so we tried to do that. We called the customers and said that now, when COVID hit in like March, April was really hard, like events started to be canceled. So you call a customer, say, are you coming to an event end of September? And they are saying that, are you allowed to arrange it? Then you're, well, what's your answer? We don't know. So you just cannot continue with the same strategy anymore. You need to kind of adapt and understand that, hey, this was now the wrong timing. After the COVID, when it was going away, so you could do the same again and call, and then customers say that, hey, is it going to be arranged? So again, you can say, we don't know, but it looks like it. So again, it's a lot about the timing, not to push everything that you have if the timing is wrong, but then and understand that part. So that's why kind of a strategy needs revision, but you need a strategy to have such a plan, but you need to be able to kind of take it back and not push it if the timing is wrong. Not sure if that was clearly enough communicated, but that's what I mean there. Yeah.
There's another phrase that I highlight from the book: moving with precision under uncertainty. I just love the way it sounds, moving with precision under uncertainty. How do we move with precision when there's uncertainty? And we all know that human beings, we don't like uncertainty.
Yeah. And that is a good question. That comes from training. So there as well, I try to explain. So when the situation is at hand, there's nothing much you can do than your best. And often we get these doubts at that moment. So the difference that I see, that why I wanted, one of the kind of the core reasons why I wanted to write the book and have the concept of the black belt leadership, is that the preparation done today is for tomorrow. So that we learn to kind of acknowledge these maybe self-doubts, these uncertainties, before we are actually on the mat or the situation is at hand. And so that's why when you know that this is the best you can do, and you're relaxed and your self-doubt is kind of dealt with before the situation, even if it's uncertain of the outcome, you can still be focused and do the best you can. And then keynote speaker trains the speeches before they enter the stage. So there are very few high professional speakers who would like come off top of their head in there. They're like, oh, now I'm just going to talk about this and they can nail it. No, they train it before and they train different situations and so that they are kind of prepared for the moment. Still, it's uncertain how it goes. I've seen this on stage that people kind of like the speakers, even super caliber speakers, come to the stage where there are thousands of people and suddenly they feel they look small and they lose the feeling. They speak the same speech, but something was lost, and then you know that it's a more on their internal feeling that they got. They got maybe frightened there on that moment or something. So that in that moment, you should still try to push through the feeling and be prepared for the feeling of the uncertainty and then move with precision, which means that do what you can do your best and not to worry about the outcome at that moment. So we often kind of mistake like a decision is based on the good outcome, but decision's outcome is more like it happened. So flipping a coin, and if it's heads, you call it heads and you got it right. So it was not your smartness, it was just luck, but the outcome was great. We should more talk about that. Should you try to guess it or how many times, and then you could maybe then evaluate that is this a smart decision to be able to even call it heads or tails, or and that decision needs to be done before the coin's in the air. So we should not focus on the outcome. We should be able to control ourselves and do our best in all the moments. And the uncertainty comes when we start worrying about the outcome, and that's where it tries to kind of come to your head and make you doubt yourself, make you doubt your decisions, make you doubt your actions. And that's what I'm talking about. That so move with precision, do what you can do best, even if you're uncertain of what's going to happen.
I love that you speak about the. We've all heard this principle, right? Pressure is privilege, and I love that you speak about pressure's gonna come, challenges are gonna come. If you're ambitious, if you wanna achieve some big goals, or not, it's life, it's business. Difficult situations will arise, crises will arise, but it's about how comfortable are you being uncomfortable. We even had a guest that have a book called Be Comfortable Being Uncomfortable that he took from the teachings from martial arts. And you say in the book, in martial arts, pressure is a training tool. You spar, you sweat, you simulate fear so that when the real moment comes, your body already knows what to do.
Yeah. That's exactly. I was watching a boxing fight now when the and I was always admiring when you see that super quick punch comes and they just move their head and it goes away like that. You think that they didn't see that, but it was just natural. They were trained for that. And again, in there are many simulations that you can do. I think the worst that I hated, but then taught the most was that you have maybe 10 friends and you are the one who's in the middle. You go, let's say 2-minute rounds with all of them. And when they are a new fresh opponent comes, so you know that you're not going to be able to do that 10 rounds in a row, so you need to start saving your energy, and they have full energy, they will come attacking you full. But when you pass through those kind of trainings, and then when you have that one opponent and it's 2-minute round, so then you know that the next round when it comes, they are tired. But you need to kind of let go of those kind of that your own, again, self-doubt, and understand the situation and push your heart regardless of the situation. And then then you come to the Zen state, calm, that you know that you can lose, anything can happen, but you also know how to get the best out of yourself. And this is then the pressure moments, that the more you train with the pressure moments, so you know that you're not going to always win, and then you don't even the winning doesn't come too strong with your mind that I'm only here to win. You're more in the situation and you see the thing. So I remember the time I was training, I had other world champions to training with, but I was the smallest. So when we were wrestling, so they were heavier and better than me. So I was always in the count. They were pinning my head and like strangling me. And I remember the moment, I think I was like maybe 16 years old or something, when one of them, so I was in the bottom and they were strangling me. And then I understood that it's not about do I win? It's more like, do I just survive few more seconds? And then I just managed to kind of get myself in a position where I survived, that I didn't lose. And then I got up and then I managed to fight back again. So I realized that it's not about winning or losing. It's actually just improving the conditions. And then when you start thinking that it's about improving the conditions in a pressure and stressful situation. So then you see the world differently. So in a fight, when the opponent is strong, so the first is that don't lose, right? And the pressure situation is the same, that don't let the pressure win you in the beginning. So just try to survive. Then the next step is improve your condition, and in the end you can manage through it. I believe and I sense many people, they crack in the pressure situation, not all, but when they crack, so they kind of acknowledge that they lost, and that's then the wrong way to go. So if you acknowledge you lost, so there's nothing you can do anymore, right? But if you just try to improve a bit by bit, so even in this high pressure situation, you can survive even if the outcome is not good. And the same, let's say COVID-19 with Nordic Business Forum. So we couldn't keep the full team. We had to lay off some people, unfortunately, but the company survived. And now it's doing great business again. And that was then the needed things to be done there, that find enough better options, not the perfect options. It didn't go online fully. It's the business still is on physical events, and that's the best thing. But it did, and it has an online community. It has online business, but the focus still is on the old business. But that didn't, I can't save the company. It saved the company, but it didn't save all the people. So that's again a high pressure situation where the outcome is something, but you just try to do your best and go to the next level.
Yeah. And this is what leaders should do. They should make tough decisions. And I love that you said sometimes what you have to do is only you have to survive a few more moments. And that's true, man. Like crisis in any situation. I come from the world of movie production. It's like filled with crisis. You go on set, something breaks, like there's so many things that happen on a movie set and that you cannot predict. It happens. As much as you plan and organize, it's going to happen. Crisis management, any kind of crisis, something hits you, you don't even know the scale of the impact sometimes. And it's very human and normal that you might feel stressed, you might feel nervous, anxious, you might be trembling, your voice might change, you might not have a clear thought. So yes, what is burning right now? What should we focus on to cool it down a little bit, the biggest fires? And then how can I get myself together? And to me, awareness helps. Just reminding myself, hey, you're human. Dude, it's fine that I know you're the leader, everybody's looking at you, but it's fine. Of course you're stressed. That's fine. Okay. How can you cool down? Call somebody, take a few deep breaths, go for a walk, whatever the situation allows for. But I need to get myself into a better state. It's not going to be 100%. I still can go from 40 to 67, but it's going to be a better situation in which, because as you said, I have this little motto, the best you can do is the best you can do.
Yeah.
The best you can do is the best. I just tell myself this when I get into a crisis. The best you can do is the best you can do. That kind of grounds me. And it's like, all right, sitting on your chair, feeling sorry for yourself, it's probably not the best you can do. You might have to change the approach. What's the best you can do now? I don't know, but who might know? Call Aslak. He's been in a similar situation. And you say it somewhere. I don't know. It was somewhere in my notes. Something about the actions. Let me just try to find it. Like a single action. Where was it? If you spend too much time thinking about the thing, you'll never get it done. Make at least one definite move daily toward your goal.
Yeah.
You don't know if the move is going to work, man, but you better be in motion. Because if you sit on your chair overthinking what you should do, especially in a crisis situation, you're done. You're done. You gotta take action. Of course, reflect, ask for advice, but in some situations in a crisis, there's no right move. Every move is going to be damaging. But you're the leader, and everybody expects you to go and say, hey guys, we gotta do layoffs. Because that's the only way we survive. And it's not nice, it's not fun. These were your fellows, these were your partners, people who are fighting with you and now you have to let them go. Horrible, right? But
Yeah.
what is more horrible is the whole company collapses and everybody goes down. And
Yeah.
it's not nice to be a leader, man. Sometimes it's not nice to be a leader. We always talk about the positive thing about leadership, but it's also coming with a price, and you gotta own it. You gotta own it. To wrap up this conversation, man, thank you so much for being with us. So much wisdom, so many ideas, and I wish I can ask you at least 20 more questions to dive into, but we'll keep that for a second part. But I just want to finish this conversation with maybe just a little bit of a summary about. And by the way, Eva, one of our avid listeners, thank you for being with us, Eva. She's here again. She has a few questions, but I wanna finish with one of her questions, maybe um, to expand a little bit on it. She says, "How do you feel about what helps you to differentiate your leadership?" And I want to kind of maybe go a little bit further and say, for you, Aslak, how do you define your leadership style today? Maybe who are some of the role models that you have, and what makes you individually, what makes you unique as a leader? What are some of your strengths that you focus on that help you to be a good leader?
Mm. A really good question. Yeah, I have to say that the quote that you referred there was from Bruce Lee, which is then, of course, a famous martial artist who was also really good quotes that I like to kind of go in and understand what does that mean. Um, I excel in those tough situations where nobody else sees the opportunities anymore. So I can take a punch and then find the way. I can take a weight from the team when they have doubts, and then I can actually build self-confidence in others that they will start to succeed. So my kind of leadership style is then I say that it's a fighting style. So I like debates, I like arguments, I like that we don't have a clear path, but together when we talk about and we plan, we try, so then we start to succeed. So I'm in kind of those uncomfortable situations at my best, and then I always try to see something else that others don't see. And when they kind of learned what I learned, so then I switch my plan and try to see something else. So I'm at that. The caveat of that is very demanding for the team, because then it means that when they kind of understand what we are going for, so it could change in the way. But then I'm also able to change my mind when somebody says that that's not the way to go, or they say that let's change the organizational structure for these reasons. So I'm very flexible and easy kind of to in my opinion at least, easy to talk with about saying that, hey, we can do this better. So kind of I can take any feedback at any time and then understand the discussion and do the changes. So that probably is my style. So I'm very coachable myself, and but very ambitious, and then I believe the best in the team that they can do better. So I'm gently pushing them to be better versions of themselves. So I can build that self-confidence and build the people at better skill. Maybe again, it's from the martial arts that you kind of aim for the higher belt. So I'm used to that. So today you are here, we are training for a higher belt level, higher skill level. So that's what I do to push people that they can become better, and then the results come from that. So I work individually with people, and then I'm maybe kind of a keynote speaker who then loves in talking about vision and get people kind of rallied up and strong in confidence to kind of a strong vision, and then just go for that. So kind of like building the trust in the kind of with the community that we can be better and change the world. So that's kind of my sweet spot, I would say. I am really bad at when we have to kind of uh, incremental changes where we are focusing on high quality every day, doing just the same day and just there. So I can do that as a person, but I don't like leading that. So to me, that's kind of a bit dull moment where we are just like aiming for finding a small mistake to improve it a bit better. I like these kind of bigger things and maybe unfinished things. So for me, the success is not what we got, but the success is more like, okay, what can happen in the future is good enough for me, rather than did we actually achieve that. So yeah.
Self-awareness is a big thing in leadership. And if we can finish this episode with your message, your advice to the listeners, to the leaders out there who are trying to find their strengths, their leadership style, what would be your message, your advice to them?
Well, I mean, you need to. I look at myself in the mirror every morning and like think that am I the person that I want to be, or is there something I can change? So it's kind of building those routines where you ask yourself that was I behaving well, was I correct there? So kind of give your direct feedback when you feel that not everything went well, or sometimes the other way around, or hopefully more often that hey, I did great job here. Why was that? So kind of build those kind of disciplined routines where you talk to yourself about yourself. Then the other part is that learn from everywhere all the time. So, I mean, go to events, read books, and talk to different leaders so that you understand what they are doing. So, when you understand their techniques, their styles, then your own styles start to shaping. And again, leadership is situational. So, sometimes, even if you're at your best, even if I was at my best in kind of rallying up and bringing a big vision, sometimes I need to really go into the nitty gritty detail and work on the quality so that I understand how it's done. So, kind of build your leadership portfolio in a way that you can do everything needed. You have your strengths still, but then kind of that the more you understand and test out, give yourself feedback, get feedback, or what I like to talk about feed forward. So it's not about what we did, but how what we will do in the future if it's the same situation or different. So kind of like start building those routines, those disciplined actions for yourself that you talk to yourself in a way every day. Write a diary, maybe I do that as well. Some often maybe more of actually about training. So where I can write that my right ankle was in pain. So then I can see that when a couple of months later I have back pain. So I know that it actually came from the ankle injury rather than the back pain. So that helps to kind of go back and see that, okay, this is what I did there. That's the reason. Let's change that, fix the ankle problem. The back will be better and then kind of move forward. Yeah.
Interesting introspection. Well, thanks so much, Aslak, for being with us. And finally, where could people find you? Tell us about the book, the podcast, the speaking opportunities, if anybody's listening and wants to get in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stoyan, for having me. It was a pleasure, and I hope that the audience also got something from here. So I have the concept called the Black Belt in Leadership. So there's a website, theblackbeltinleadership.com. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. I'm the only Aslak de Silva in the world, so it should be found, even if you misspell my name. Sometimes I have debates that is it Aslak da Silva or de Silva, so you will find me from that as well. And the podcast as well on Spotify, Apple Podcast. So it's called The Black Belt in Leadership. So that should be there to be found. And happy to connect with like-minded people. And if you want advice or something, happy to do that. I do keynote speaking. So if you want to quote, so I have an agent that I will direct then for those. But yeah, I hope that the book is coming out now on the 19th of August. It'll be available on Amazon and bookstores in the US especially. So I hope that will bring more value on the concepts that I've been talking about here. So 20 tested lessons and examples there. Some are hard and some are easy, but I've also included their reflection questions to help out with the training for you from that part. So that like I totally agree with you, Sto, and there what you were saying, that leadership is learned in action. So that's what needs to be done. So that's why I do have exercises for you to accomplish there and to do so that you actually get the action needed.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you're probably going to enjoy the other one as well. Go to the Black Belt Leadership podcast. Check it out. Subscribe. Obviously, if you enjoyed that episode of Productivity Mastery, you're welcome to subscribe to it as well. The more subscribers and followers we have, the easier it is to get incredible people like us, like on the podcast. So that'll be the only ask we have for you guys. Productivity Mastery. Go check it out on your favorite platform and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. And that being said, we love to hear from you. If you've been listening to the podcast, I mean, let us know. How was it? Did you enjoy it? What was the part that you liked the most? For those of you on LinkedIn, post in the comments. We check all the comments. We'll get back to you if you have a question or anything else. It's always great to hear from you guys. So let us know what you enjoyed. Thanks so much for your attention, making it to the end of the episode. And see you once again at the next episode of Productivity Master. Until then, go get yourself a copy of Aslak's new book. Subscribe to the podcast. And of course, it's not just about inspiration, it's about application. So if any idea stuck with you, go and apply it in the real world, in your life, in business, and let us know how it went. Thank you so much, and see you once again next time. Ciao.